take a moment to help me welcome our next speaker. Mary Elizabeth Murphy has over 30 years of experience working directly with clients. She is a reliable, results-driven expert in team dynamics, development, and cohesion. As CEO and owner of Star Resources and author of Reset Your Buttons, she's been teaching the skills to earn more, achieve more, and produce more since 1993. Enhancing interpersonal relationships and increasing effectiveness and productivity in the workplace is her passion. Another one of her passions is encouraging women in leadership in the workplace. The Small Business Administration awarded Mary Elizabeth the North Carolina Women in Business Champion of the Year Award for her commitment to advancing women's business ownership. Thank you. Mecklenburg Times named her one of Charlotte's 50 most influential women, and T&D Magazine named her one of 6 recipients for the prestigious Training's New Guard Award for her ability to inspire others with her passion, her determination, and her success. Welcome Mary Elizabeth Murphy to the stage.
I listen to all that and I think, who is she talking about? And then I realize that it's me. And so when I think about, and I have friends here from NSA Carolinas in the house, who have watched me this year cry, weep, gnash my teeth, and literally have a nervous breakdown on Sunday with Tara Brown about this, I listen to that and I think, why am I so nervous? Why am I so afraid? Because despite everything I've accomplished and 30 years of work, including presenting at AENC before the pandemic, despite all of that, I have buttons, and they've been getting pushed. So let me tell you a little bit today about how to reset your buttons when they get pushed. The whole idea behind Reset Your Buttons started when I was in my formative years, and my mother would say to me, why do you let people push your buttons? And I didn't know what that meant. What are these buttons you speak of? Why do I have them? And how is it that other people know what they are and are able to push them? So I had to start figuring out what my buttons were. Now, when I wrote the book, which I wrote in 7 years, so I'm so excited for all the books that I'm hearing that are coming out next year, because mine's only 98 pages long. And it took 7 years. I learned that when we learn how to reset our buttons, we also learn how to create relationships that work. And so I want to ask you, what's pushing your buttons? What's pushing your buttons? We have heard from wonderful speakers already this morning, and we're going to hear from a few wonderful more who are going to tell us all the reasons and have told us the reasons why buttons are getting pushed. The pandemic pushed buttons. Workplace challenges pushes buttons. Everything they said, 30 years experience, everything they said is true. But here's what's different today. People aren't as willing to tolerate what's been going on in the workplace. We've been working on culture. We've been talking about how do we improve leadership. We've been talking about moving away from top down. We've been talking about all of these things for 30 years. And I'm pretty sure we were talking about it before then. But today, in this time, on this planet, it's changing. It's finally changing. And we have an opportunity to be the generations that get to see that happen. And for me, I don't have too many decades ahead of me. So I'm really excited to hear what's going to happen so that I know that my stepchildren and grandchildren, nieces and nephews are going to live in a different world, a better world than what we've seen. And yet, there's been great things in this world. So let me tell you a little bit about buttons and button pushing and how to fix it. First off, I want to say that this is the model. The model is reset. How do you recognize when a button's been pushed? That's the first step. After that, the others fall into place, but it's not a linear model. Expectations. How do you set realistic expectations so you aren't disappointed in the results? And that's what we're going to talk about today. Thank you, everybody who filled out our survey ahead of time. It's part of what we're able to do to create a real-time presentation for your groups and organizations. Sense of self. S is for sense of self. Who am I? How do I relate to other people? Some of you may be familiar with the DISC model. I've worked with the DISC model for 30 years, and I understand that we all have different ways that we approach things. But we also might be more about correctness or influencing people. We might be more concerned about stability or getting it done. So we check in and say, what part of me right now is having that button pushed? Like, as I'm watching this clock run down, it's going into get it done. So then there's emphasize your core values, and then T, take stock. Take stock on who you are, what you care about, and how you want to respond to others. So let's talk about expectations for a minute. I'm going to tell you a story. I mentioned in the beginning that my mother always said, why do you let people push your buttons? Just over 15 years ago, I spent a week with my mother visiting her. And we had time together, and my mother was on her way to better places. She didn't have a terminal illness, and we didn't have a date, but she had had rheumatoid arthritis and heart issues, and she was tired. And every day, for 3 years, she would say, I want to go home. And I said, I know, Mom. But God wants you here for a reason, and let's get it done. So after this week of visiting with her, I was getting ready to leave, and my brother called, and he said, would you like to come and have dinner with myself and my girlfriend? And I said, sure. I said, hey, Mom, I'm going to need to leave a little bit early. Is that okay? And she said, sure. And I said, all right. So I was packing and finishing up, and all of a sudden, she started taking me on a tour of the condo. She took me to her closet where the generations of pictures were. The one with her in the goat cart. Goat, not go. Goat cart. She took me to her scarf drawer and showed me her favorite scarves. She took me to the drawer where she tucked away a little bit of money for the grandkids. And at first, I started to have my buttons pushed because I needed to get it done. I needed to go meet my brother. And suddenly I realized, oh, she's taking me on the final tour. She wants me to know where everything is, which I already did, but she really wants me to know this. So I took a deep breath, and I reset my button, and I knelt down in front of her, because she was in her easy chair, and I said, Mom, I just want to thank you for loving us so much that you knew what we need to have, and you want to make sure that I know so that after you're gone, it'll be just a little bit easier to keep going. And she looked at me with the biggest smile on her face, and she said, well, that's what a mother does. A month later, she was gone. And that was the last real conversation she and I were able to have before she left the planet. So, when you feel your buttons getting pushed, when you are in these situations that these experts are sharing with you today, pause and breathe and think for a moment, how do I reset this button? What button is being pushed so that I can continue to create relationships that work? I want to thank you very much for this wonderful opportunity, and all of my friends at NSA Carolinas for all of their support, and the AENC group, and Wendy, and Evan, and Legan. So thank you all. If you'd like to take a picture of that Talk-A-Dot that just went away, you can. And come see us at booth 1217. Thank you very much.